What's up, everybody? So today we are looking at 1.2 Measure and Classify Angles Part 1. All right, before we do anything, go ahead and get this title at the top of your paper. Don't forget the Part 1. I'll need to see that when you eventually turn these notes in at the end of the trial. All right, so today is, all about measuring and classifying angles. There's a lot of different parts to angles and different ways of naming them. And that's what we're focusing on. So let's take a look at this first slide. All right, so go ahead, take a second and get all of these terms you see on the slide, and then we'll go over them. Okay, so it says an angle consists of two rays that have the same endpoint. All right, we learned about rays a lesson or two ago. You guys remember a ray is something that has an endpoint and goes in one direction forever. All right, and it's saying that an angle consists of two of these things with the same endpoint. So if I drew another ray from this same endpoint, I would create an angle, and that's what we have over here. Okay, so that's technically what an angle is. Here's the parts of it. It says the rays are the sides of the angle. So, this is one side of the angle, this is the other side. That's pretty straightforward. Okay, on the last thing says the end point is the vertex of the angle. All right, so the vertex is, you can kind of think of it as the point of the angle. That is what's called the vertex. If you see that word, that's all they're talking about, is basically, that point right there. Okay, so now that we have these basic terms out of the way, let's try to name this angle here. Okay, so take a second, get these directions, draw this angle, we'll name it together. All right, so there are a few ways of naming an angle. All right, the first way, and maybe the most simplified way that doesn't always work, which we'll see in the future, is to name an angle with its vertex. Okay, you guys can see the vertex of this angle is A. So one of the names we can give this thing is angle A, which, by the way, that right there, that is the symbol for angle, all right, which you'll see a lot. All right, sorry, I know sometimes it looks like an L. I'll do my best to make it nice and straight like that. Okay, but angle A. Okay, another way we can sometimes name an angle is if they just put a number in it, just like, not telling us what the degree of it is, but they just put a number in there, like this is angle 5. We can call it that. Okay, so another name is angle 5. All right, there are two other ways of naming an angle, and these are actually the most common ways that we'll name an angle. Okay, here it is. We can name an angle going from one side of the angle around the vertex to the other side of the angle. So I could call this thing angle BAC. Okay, the other way we can name this angle is just going the opposite direction. We can start on this side and go around the angle to the other side. We can call it angle CAB. All right, here's something I want to point out though. We cannot call this angle angle ABC. Okay, when we name an angle, we can't start at a vertex, go to one side, and then flip over to the other side. All right, which, by the way, angle ABC, technically it would be an angle that looked like this. Well, that was terrible. I can do better than that. Here, let me get my little straight tool here. Okay, it'd be an angle that looks like this. This green angle would actually be angle ABC. Notice how we're going around the vertex as we name it. All right, so just be careful of that. When, it's a pretty simple idea though. Just start on the side, make your way to the other side when you name an angle. All right, these are the two most common ways, though we'll sometimes use these too. Okay, let's try another example. Give one name for each angle. Go ahead and copy this real quick and we'll do it. Okay, so give one name for each angle. Here's the first question I want to throw out to you. How many angles do we have sitting in front of us? Okay, take a guess. Okay, some might be thinking 2, 3, maybe more. Let's break it down. All right, here is the first angle I notice. This one right here on the top. Okay, going around like this. Okay, that is one of our angles. And let's go ahead and give it a name. And I'm going to follow that same pattern. We can call this thing angle PQR. Okay, so let's give it that one. I'll keep it green. Okay, so there's angle PQR. Another angle we have here is the one on the bottom, this angle here. Okay, which we can call this angle RQS. Okay, so there's two of them, but there's actually a third angle here. You might, notice that we have an angle that makes up this entire thing. Okay, this whole angle right here, which we can call angle PQS. Okay, one thing I want to point out, like for this angle PQS or even the other three or all three that we named, we could have also gone the other direction. I could have also called this thing angle SQP. All right, it doesn't really matter which direction you start from, as long as you start on the side. All right, here's a question though. Why didn't I name any of these three angles angle Q? Why didn't I do that? If I were to tell you we're using angle Q on this problem, which angle would I be talking about? All three of these angles have Q as its vertex, right? So there's no way to identify which one we're talking about. So that's why just naming an angle with its vertex doesn't always work. If there's other angles that have the same vertex, we can't name it with just the vertex. All right, so yeah, that's why angle Q, we didn't use it. And also, we didn't use any of the numbers because there are no numbers in here. So these are the three names we can give our angles. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a chance to try a couple of these. Go ahead and it says give one name for each angle. All right, so on number 2, give one name for this angle, and on number 1, give a name for that angle. On number 2, give a name for each angle. Okay, go ahead and try it out. All right, so on number 1, you might have noticed there's actually multiple names we can give this angle. I only told you to do one, but I'm going to list out all of them. And if you want to list them all with me, you could. Okay, so the first one I'm going to start with is I noticed this angle is the only angle that has S as its vertex. So we can actually name it angle S. And sorry, my S's look like 5 sometimes. Apologize. Okay, the next thing I notice is we just have a number in our angle that we can use to name it. So another thing, we can just call this thing angle 3. All right, but the two most common ways is naming it with the 3 points, starting on the side, going around the vertex to the other side. So another name would be RST. And going around the other way, we can call it angle TSR. All right, this seems like hopefully pretty simple, but it is so important to realize the name of an angle. When you'll see you're going to eventually get problems that have a lot of angles, like on number 2. Say we had a bunch of angles here, a bunch of them. All right, and it told you to find the measure of angle KMN. Okay, if you didn't know that KMN was this angle, starting at K, going around M to N, that would make this problem a lot harder than it needs to be. Okay, so that's why this is a really important lesson, even though it seems fairly simple. Okay, so let's go to number 2. All right, so as you guys know, there's 3 angles here. Let's name them off. I'm going to start with this one let's start with the one I just named, angle KMN. All right, so we'll start with that one. We'll keep the colors there. Okay, just so you guys know, could have also gone the other way, could have called it angle NMK. All right, next one I notice is the one on the left here. I'm going to call it angle HMK. Okay, and last one, the entire thing, HMN, angle HMN. Alrighty, let's keep moving. Okay, so from here we're getting into classifying angles. These are some words you might have heard before, maybe some others, yeah, you haven't. So before I explain it, go ahead and take a minute and copy down this slide here. Classifying angles is the title. I have to kind of cut it off. But yeah, go ahead and get these 4 classifications. All right, so classifying angles. These are kind of general names for angles. And if you guys notice, they are kind of based around 90 degrees. At least three of them all deal with 90 degrees, right? So let's make some sense out of it. The first one's called an acute angle, all right? That is an angle that is less than 90 degrees, all right? One thing you might want to add to your notes, if you're a little shaky on it, this is a less than symbol, okay? If you didn't know that, like if you didn't read less than 90 when you wrote this on your paper, add it to your notes. So less than. Okay, and start to get used to knowing that that's a less than sign. Okay, on this one, an obtuse angle is an angle that is greater than 90 degrees, right? So that's a greater than symbol. If you need to write it in your notes, go ahead. All right, the next one is a right angle. This is probably something you've definitely heard of before. A right angle is an angle that is exactly 90 degrees or equal to 90 degrees. All right, one thing to note, if you ever see a little box in the corner of an angle, that is telling you that it is a right angle, all right, and that it is 90 degrees. All right, you'll often see that, instead of them writing a little 90 next to it, they'll just put a little box by it. It would be 90 degrees. Okay, they'll just put a little box and you'll know, okay, that's a right angle, that's 90 degrees. All right. Okay, last one is what's called a straight angle. All right, this is kind of interesting, but a straight line actually it is actually an angle and it has a measure, and that measure is 180 degrees. All right, so anytime you see a flat line, you've got a 180 degree angle, a straight angle, and you guys will see that is going to show up so much in this class. Okay, so start to just memorize straight line is 180 degrees. All right, it will help you so much, trust me. All right, so let's do some problems with these. I'm just going to have you try practice problems to classify each of these angles. Before I have you copy this and try them, I want to just point out one thing. Right here, there's a little M next to the angle A. That M just stands for the word measure. Okay, so the way this reads is the measure of angle A is 130 degrees or equals 130 degrees. Okay, so go ahead and copy these down first of all, and then go ahead and classify them. Tell me, is it an acute angle? Is it a straight angle? Okay, go ahead and try it out. All right, so on letter A, measure of angle A is 130 degrees. Hopefully these were fairly simple for you guys. Here's what I know. If my angle is 130 degrees, I know that it is greater than 90 degrees. That means it must be an obtuse angle. Okay, so there's letter A. This thing is an obtuse angle. All right, taking a look at letter B. They're telling us that the measure of angle B is 90 degrees. Exactly 90 degrees. All right, you guys know 90 degree? That means it looks like we're dealing with a right angle. Okay, and just a quick comment. What if this angle was 90.1 degrees? Would it still be a right angle? No. Okay, it would now be greater than 90 degrees, and this would now be an obtuse angle, right? Okay, last one. My measure of angle C is 45 degrees. Here's what I know. 45 degrees is less than 90 degrees. This thing is an acute angle. Okay, so those are some good words to use. Just to remind you, the ones you're going to hear most often throughout the year are these two bottom ones, a right angle and a straight angle. All right, you'll see those a lot. So keep those in mind. Obtuse, and acute or whatever, those are good to know, but they're less common, just so you know, as far as us having to label that they're acute or obtuse. Okay. All right, cool. Let's find the measure of angles. So now they're going to start giving us measures, ask us to find other measures using them. All right, so take a second, copy this problem. We'll do this one together. Okay, so find the measure of angle PTM. First things first. Where is angle PTM? Which one of these angles is angle PTM? All right, well, let's take a look. That means we're starting at P, going around T to M. All right, angle PTM is this big angle here. All right, here's what I notice. It's broken into two angles. One of them is a 30-degree angle. One of them is a 40-degree angle. Okay, so what do you think the measure of angle PTM is? Take a guess. All right, I'm hoping you were thinking, oh, if this is 30 and this is 40, add them together, I've got the measure of the entire thing. And yeah, you'd be right. And the measure of angle PTM is 70. All right, 70 degrees. When we're talking about the measure of angles, that's what this little symbol means, degrees. All right, so 30 degrees, 40 degrees, that's what we're looking for. All right, so yeah, easy enough. Let's keep going. All right, so here's a think, pair, share question. I just want you to take a look at this thing. You don't need to draw it because it's kind of, pretty detailed. But I want you to just take a look at this thing and tell me what you think. Okay, here's what it's asking. Or find the measure of the angle PXC using the figure below. Okay, so real quick, PXC. Which angle is that? We got a lot of angles here, right? All right, take a second. Just look at this picture. Find angle PXC. Just figure out which one it is. All right, so hopefully you're thinking, all right, did I keep seeing BXC? Sorry, BXC. So yeah, BXZ, starting at B, going around X to C. That's the angle we're talking about. That is angle BXC. Okay, they want us to find the measure of this angle. All right, well, here's what I notice. This angle goes from 40 degrees. Let me erase this. It goes from 40 degrees on my compass to 70 degrees on my compass. Okay, so what's the measure of this angle? Well, we can just count it. It goes from 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees. All right, so this thing would be a 30-degree angle. All right, the reason why I just want to kind of look at it in the context of this, some people will think, oh, like this side, it goes all the way to 70. It must be a 70-degree angle, right? Well, no, because it starts at 40, right? By the way, a 70-degree angle on this thing would be this angle that starts at 0 and goes to 70. Okay, that would be our 70-degree angle, just by the way. All right. So compasses, we'll use them ever so often, but they're pretty easy to look at. It's pretty self-explanatory. All right. I guess maybe another thing worth noticing, you might notice numbers going from 0 all the way to 170, or I guess this would be 180, which makes sense because a flat line is 180, right? And then the numbers on the inside doing the same thing going the other direction. You can look at it from either direction. So for example, if I was asking you to find the measure of angle EXF, okay, we would look at these numbers in here. I'd notice, oh, it's going from 0 to 30. Again, it must be another 30-degree angle. All right, I'd probably ignore these numbers on the outside when I'm looking from this direction to the left. Okay. All right, guys. So yeah, that is naming and finding the measure of angles. This is some good stuff. We're going to use these skills a lot throughout the year. So hopefully you felt pretty good on this. And I'll see you guys soon. All right. Bye.